All right, I want to start with a question for you right now. Which hurts more? The wounds that you might receive from an enemy, somebody that you know is trying to harm you, or that neglect that you get from a trusted person, a friend? I think if you think about this for a little bit, you'll come to realize that the wounds of a friend are often more painful, go deeper, because they're unexpected. You expect your friends, your family, your loved ones, the people who are your support, to be there for you, not to neglect you, not to, when you're crying out for help, to turn a deaf ear, a blind eye. We actually can look at some of this from a research perspective. We know that people who serve in foreign countries as missionaries or other non-governmental organizations, they frequently say, and we have research to back this up, that the most painful thing they experience are not the bullets that fly overhead, the dangers they face in that country, but the lack of understanding and support from the home office. So the wounds of a friend can be more damaging. Many, an abuse victim has said, I found my church's response to my abuse to be more damaging than the abuse I suffered at the hands of the rapist or the pedophile or the date rapist. The reason why I have this up here is this, is my title is talked, when good people do nothing. But in fact, there is never a time when we do nothing. We are always having some response. And I give you this quote from Judith Herman, probably one of the most preeminent scholars and writers in the area of trauma. It is very tempting to take the side of a perpetrator. All the perpetrator asks is that the bystander do nothing. He appeals to the universal desire to see, hear, and speak no evil. The victim, on the contrary, asks the bystander to share the burden of pain. The victim demands action, engagement, and remembering. See, the problem is, even in doing nothing, we are doing something. We are choosing a path. And so one of the things I want us to think about in this particular session is, what are some of the reasons why we don't respond well when we hear about allegations of abuse? And what can we do about it? So these are our goals. We're going to look at the individual and the corporate reasons why we don't act as we should, and we're going to look at 6 proactive actions that we can undertake in order to work to prevent the doing of nothing or doing the wrong thing. Now, it is quite obvious for everybody who's had a radio, a television, a newspaper, that there's a lot going on in the area of sexual abuse in this region of the country. Whether it's the Catholic Church, whether it's Penn State, whether it's a whole host of other places. We can't miss it. If you're like me, you experienced in the last couple of weeks a lot of outrage, a lot of befuddlement, confusion. How is it possible that good people did nothing? How could they continue to put people back into pastoral ministry who were known to be chewing up, feeding on vulnerable people? How could people who had seen or heard of abuse do nothing, or only be concerned about a humane response to protect the dignity of the abuser? We're outraged, and we should be. And now the conversation moves to the question of what should happen to people who do nothing. But maybe we should pause for a little bit. Maybe we're not all that different from those who did nothing or very little. Maybe there are things at work in us as well as it was in those. And before we get too self-righteous, maybe we ought to consider that. So consider with me some of the reasons why we don't act as we should. I put 2 reasons up here at once. I think they work hand in glove, in tandem. My students have been reading a book called by Anna Salter. It's not something, by the way, students, I am sorry for this. You shouldn't be reading it at 10 o'clock at night. Hopefully most of you weren't. It can leave with nightmares because Anna Salter is a psychologist who spends a great deal of time depicting and detailing how predators work. And it's not something that is easy reading. But one of the things that she is very clear on, that you can't miss, is that predators are not people that we can easily pick out. These are not people that make easy to find in a lineup or in our churches. I put up here a picture from the movie Predators versus Aliens. We'd like our predators to look like this. Easily to point out. This is why, frankly, good touch, bad touch stuff doesn't work that well from a statistical standpoint, because it's really clear when touch is bad, but a lot of touch that takes place is confusing, right? And so abusive people, especially those who are predatorial, are very winsome. They may look more like this. And this, in fact, is a picture of a convicted biblical counselor who's convicted of child sexual abuse and has spent 4 to 5 years in prison. Here's somebody that you might be willing, it's more of a mugshot here, but it might be more willing to talk to this person than this person, that you would think has wisdom, stature, a known author, somebody that you would like to tell your story to, that you would invite into your home. So along with winsomeness, there's a denial that goes into place. Are abusers really in our midst? Aren't they out there? Could our beloved leaders, pastors, youth leaders, Sunday school teachers, friends, uncles, aunts, could they really do this? It's not possible. You combine our denial of the fact with their winsomeness, and what you have are predators who say, the very first place I'd like to go is church, because they're gullible, naive, and they believe that everyone can be redeemed. Hey, that's a good belief of ours, by the way, but it ought not lead to naivety, right? Along with winsomeness and denial, which, by the way, it may be one of the reasons why predators can average as many as 50 victims before their first conviction. There's no other way that can explain that other than their winsomeness. And when Boz comes in the next plenary tonight, he will show you a clip that will knock your socks off on this, on how winsome such a person might be. There's a third thing that goes on, though. There's doubt. Did I really see what I thought I saw? Did I really hear that? That's not possible, right? And you begin to doubt yourself. I remember maybe a decade or so ago, my wife and I were driving in Chicago, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a car where it shouldn't be, up on the sidewalk, moving a little bit faster, and stopping, and people getting out, and it looked in my rearview mirror like maybe there was a fight going on, that there was a domestic disturbance going on. And we were quite a ways down the road before we even thought to ask the question, do you think we should have stopped? Should we have done something? Somebody else probably will. And I remember feeling guilty for a long time after that. What was I supposed to do? Did I really see that? Was it maybe there's some other